The very companies that are building AI right now, such as Anthropic and OpenAI, as well as the cinematography giant aka Netflix, are actively hiring people with this human skill. In this video, I will share with you what this skill is and how to use 3 simple principles to mastering the skill so you can get paid up to $750,000 a year. So what is this skill? It's storytelling. But before you click off thinking this is some soft advice, let me show you why this might be the most profitable and valuable skill in the next 5 years. If you're new here, my name is Lana Sova, and in the last 6 years, I've been a marketer and a direct response copywriter, and I've spent over 10,000 hours studying and mastering storytelling because stories are one of the most powerful ways to influence someone, and all of these big companies know this. This is why they are willing to pay for up to almost $1 million a year for anyone who knows and masters this skill. But they all call it slightly different names, such as director of communication, head of media, or chief of communication. And that might seem slightly different, but I have a question for you. How do people communicate? Through stories. This is why in this video we're mastering storytelling. But you might be thinking that, well, AI is already doing this, but if that was true, would the greatest storytelling platform on the planet Earth, such as Netflix, hire people and pay them up to $750,000 a year? I don't think so. This is why I've decided to create this mini series where I show you how to master the storytelling, how to use AI to help you write powerful stories faster, and then how to use this combination to create one of the most powerful and valuable skill in the next 5 years. So you become irreplaceable. And we will start with mastering storytelling, but don't worry, it is much simpler than you think. Principle number 1, I call it the immersion principle. Have you ever watched a movie or a Netflix series and you found yourself completely immersed in it? That's because a good storytelling really pulls you into a moment. But most people tell a story like they're filing a police report. They summarize what happened. And that's what AI actually does as well. So if you want to grab someone's attention and keep their attention for as long as possible, you have to zoom into the moment so that the reader or the viewer feels like they're reliving the story with you. And let me give you an example. Here's an example of what usually and how usually people relay a story of, let's say, someone who was getting ready or was about to have a very important business meeting. I was there, I was nervous, my coffee gone cold, I felt like I was going to trip over every word, but in the end, it turned out not too bad. So how do you feel after hearing this? Kind of mad, like you don't really care. It was like, yeah, whatever, it happened. But here is another example describing and telling us the same story, but in a slightly different way. I'm standing outside the conference room. My coffee's gone cold because I've been holding it for 20 minutes. My body is shivering, yet I'm sweating profusely. I hope nobody notices my sweaty armpits. I know I have to walk in, but I'm too scared, so I stand in front of the door. I keep rehearsing the first line in my head, like if I say it enough times, it'll stop feeling like a lie. But suddenly, a door opens in front of me, interrupting my thoughts, and my heart drops. Did you feel that? Did you imagine someone standing there in front of a door, shivering, being extremely nervous? Did you feel how their body felt? That is the power of telling a good story. So here's a trick I personally like to use. So quite often when I want to write or tell a story, what I do is I will close my eyes and I will imagine a scene. And then I will almost like describe that scene with exactly what's happening, right? It's kind of like describing a scene of a movie. Now, it's gotten to the point where these days when I have an idea for a story, and I get into the flow, I kind of see the scene in the back of my mind, and I am kind of looking into that back of my mind, and I am describing everything that I see. Now, that might sound like a little bit too hard, and it will take you a little bit of a time to get there. I mean, I've been doing that for over 6 years now, but here's a very quick way you can master it. I want you to grab a piece of paper or maybe like a notepad and think of a story or something, like a quick snapshot of your day that happened, then set up a timer for 5 minutes and then describe that scene, that snapshot of your day for the next 5 minutes and try not to stop. If you do this for the next 7 days, I can guarantee you the longer you do it, the better and easier it is going to be for you to be describing story in such a way that I just showed you. Now let's move to the principle number 2, and I call it the rhythm principle. Ever seen professional dancers on the floor? They don't dance. They flow. And it's all because of a rhythm. But the rhythm is the last thing that most people think about when they think about or hear about telling stories. Therefore, quite often, their stories fall flat. And why is that? Well, the reason is because there is no beat, there is no energy, and there is no rhythm in those stories. And so after a while, the brain gets bored. It kind of stops paying attention, and then you completely check out. But if you look at what I just have told you and described in a written form, you will see something. And that something is the variance of the sentence's length. And that is one form of the rhythm. But there is something more powerful that marketing and salespeople use, and they use it because it works. We call it the ABT transition. And it comes from the copywriter who is very famous in the direct marketing world. His name is Evaldo Albuquerque, and he is a Brazilian copywriter who have written sales letters that have sold over $120 million. Evaldo basically cracked the code on realizing why some stories grip people and won't let them go and others fall flat. And there is actually a very biological reason why this works. You see, your brain and your whole body kind of speaks in a rhythm. First of all, your heartbeat, it's a rhythm. Your brain and the cells within the brain actually communicate through brain waves, and that has a rhythm as well. And so when it comes to stories, when we are utilizing the rhythm, it's kind of allowing your brain to not expend too much energy on thinking. And it's almost like catching the wave. And if you're a surfer, you know, catching the wave and riding it. Like the wave grabs your board and it lets you move. It's the same with the rhythm. That's exactly what it does for your brain. So the brain pays attention. And so in the ABT transition, A stands for and that creates context and movement. B stands for but, that creates tension. And T stands for therefore, or that's why. And this is what gives the release of the tension we just created. And so together they work as a pulse. And when you add the variance in the sentence's length, that creates the rhythm that your brain can actually follow. But when you look at how most people tell stories, they use this structure, what I call and then. So for example, it would be something like, and then I went to the gym, and then I met this guy, and then we locked the eyes, and then we smiled, and then he looked away, and then I went on to get my bench press set, and then I finished workout, and then. If you are somebody who goes on raves or likes to listen techno or EDM music, it's kind of listening to the sound, waiting for the drop, and it never comes. It becomes weird. You just kind of want to hey, get off me, right? And so that's exactly what happens when you don't use the ABT structure, which is the rhythm in your storytelling. The brain doesn't want to hear it. It checks out, doesn't pay attention. And before you know it, you already lost the reader or the listener. And that rhythm is the heartbeat of a really good storytelling. Now let's move to the last principle. And it comes all the way back from 1920s, specifically from a small cafe in Vienna, where a Soviet psychology student, Bluma Zeigernik, and her professor noticed something interesting about the waiter. So the waiter remembered every single detail about the customers and the order up until they paid the bill. But once the bill was paid, the waiter couldn't recall anything about the table or the order or even the names of the people. That really intrigued Bluma. So she ran into the lab and decided to conduct an experiment. She gathered a group of participants and she gave them the tasks such as puzzles and things like that. After a while, what she did, she let some participants finish the tasks, and then to others, she interrupted those tasks. Later, after the experiment was over, she asked the participant who finished the tasks to recall anything that they remember about those tasks. And the thing is, they didn't remember shit. But the group who was interrupted during the tasks, they remembered almost everything. So what Bluma discovered is that when the brain has a finished task, it stops spending energy on it and completely forgets about it. But when we have an unfinished task in our brain, it grips on it. It wants to have the completion. It wants to know what happened, the ending, and therefore the brain spends a lot of energy on running that sort of open file. It's kind of, think of it like having a lot of tabs open in your Google Chrome. That's what happens to the incomplete tasks in your brain. And this is what's called the Zeigernik effect. But in direct response marketing and copywriting, we call it the open loops. And so every great movie in Hollywood and every great show on Netflix, they all use the same principle. Some people also call it the cliffhangers, but ultimately it's almost the same thing. Now, this principle is one of the most powerful ones because it creates tension. It opens the file in your audience's brain, but it doesn't give them the answer right away. And so because of that, it keeps the readers or the viewers' attention until you finish the task and you close the loop. Now, if you want to practice this, the best way you can do that is actually using this principle on your friends. And I'm so guilty of doing that. But after writing in marketing copywriting for 6 years, I kind of do it naturally. And so I'm going to give you an example. So let's say I went to grab a coffee here, in Costa Rica, and I met this guy, and it was a very almost like, rom-com scene type of way. But instead of telling that to my friend, what I will do is say, hey, I just went to grab a coffee, my usual morning routine, but then something happened and I think my life has changed. And then I just drop it. Guess what? They want to know. And if I continue telling this story without really giving her away of like, oh, I met this guy, right? Which kind of sort of opens another loop, but we're not going to go into that. They want to listen and want to know. And so once you practice and once you use this principle, you will become the greatest storytelling in your friends group, and they will be hanging on every word you're saying. So these are the 3 principles: the immersion, the rhythm, and the open loop principles. Master these 3 and you will become a much better storytelling than most people around you. So now you know where to start. But if you want to get deeper into mastering storytelling, there is a formula that uses very simple 7 steps. I'm working on a video for that. But also the next video, I will help you and show you how to use AI to tell powerful stories in a much faster way. So be sure to subscribe, and if you like this video, give the like button a little spanking, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!